personally we've traveled around, and has been a significant difference, I think, in the way people have responded to it.
Oh, definitely. One of my favorite was the first world premiere market screening at the Cannes Film Festival. A woman got up during... Has everyone seen it? Yeah. Oh, really? Okay, I didn't want to spoil it.
Wait, I love doing this. Can I see a show of hands of anyone that's seen American Mary? Yeah. I'm disappointed in you, Joker.
I know.
So, spoiler alert, there's a point in the scene where there's this woman who's had an extensive plastic surgery to look like a Barbie doll, and she asks Mary, who's a medical student who's kind of doing these operations on the sly, to remove her nipples and give her a full clitorectomy. And this happened in Cannes. She's like, oh, just take off these and seal this as much as possible. And this woman stands up in front of me just to make sure everybody in the theater knew she was not having. She starts shaking her head and walking out and like, no. I'm like, oh, I guess we got our first walkout.
Because she was in the center. She wanted to be on the aisle. And she's like, get up, I'm gonna go after her. Get up, I'm gonna go after her. She doesn't know. It's like burning your brow with a scalpel. She doesn't understand it's feminism.
It's radical feminism. It's the new type, but no, yeah.
Taking back your body and having control of it.
And you were gonna fight her. I wanted to educate her.
Right.
In anger.
With your fists. But one of the funny things about American Mary is our first film, Dead Hooker in a Trunk. It was released in the UK. Oh, thank you, Dead Hooker fans. Yeah. Oh, there's Oh, good, both of them are here. But it came out in Australia through Monster Pictures and the UK first. And I didn't realize how much people liked Dead Hooker in a Trunk, and I guess generally us too, until we went there all together with American Mary, and everyone had like their Dead Hooker DVDs to sign, and they loved American Mary. They got all the weird little subtle things that we put in that we thought maybe if they listen to the director commentary they'll get this, but no.
The best was during Beatrice's line, Tess, honey, don't be a cunt. People laughed and stood up and cheered. I was like, oh, you're British. God bless you all.
That's how we know how cool an audience is. If they laugh at the cunt line, it's like, oh. But if it's a quiet response, I'm like, oh, no.
I guess it's a bit late for this. I hope there's no kids here.
I hope there are.
Well, there's a new word for you. Ask Mom about it.
Case. So, Kate, quick question for you. Obviously, professionally, it was a fantastic experience, and a lot of people will ask you what your favorite film experience was. Tell me how meeting the Soskas has actually changed you personally.
Well, personally, I gained 2 new best friends and my actual long-lost sisters. It's been pretty much horrible. Yeah, no, I mean, I met them one night. Syl wouldn't talk to me. We met for sushi at 5 p.m. and Syl was like, yeah, not talking to you. So Jen had to sort of talk to me, and Syl was just being a fucking weirdo in the corner.
She was so nervous. She was so...
Wait, but how many people met Katharine Isabelle for the first time today? She's a bit intimidating. She's got a resting bitch face. You're kind of fucking terrified.
That's true.
I was like, what have I done? I don't actually know this woman, and I have so much faith in her.
That night, we ended up at a karaoke bar till 4 a.m. and I was like, oh no, I think you're my new best friends. This is great. And yeah, I mean, just having the experiences that I have had through traveling the world and knowing these 2 has been somewhat pleasant, I guess.
I'm sure there's lots of questions, so let's open it up and get some asks here. Who would like to ask?
Oh, here he comes.
There we go.
Yeah.
It's very Hitchcocky.
I have a couple of questions. Okay. 2 of them are a bit strange. One of them, I've always wondered, is the water cold or hot?
This one?
Yeah.
Room temperature.
Yes.
Okay. The second one, my friend over there, okay, who has a crush on you and who's formerly just, he dared me to ask you guys for your numbers. Can I have your number?
No. It's 778.
Oh wow, she's excellent.
338 9630.
Is that
Keep dialing those numbers because it's
really close to her actually. I just mind freaked all of you, although
You might get lucky.
how many options are there? I'm gonna get some calls like, Jen? And or Sylv?
The real question, what inspired you to make American Mary?
The real question, you didn't want my number?
Oh!
Nobody wants that, Jen. Womp womp.
Are you familiar with a website called BME.com?
I don't know.
It was one of the first resources for body modification, and they did an April Fool's prank one day, and I didn't realize it was an April Fool's prank, and it featured two identical twin brothers. And one of them decided to cut off his brother's arm and have it grafted onto his chest plate. And then with his remaining hand, he decided to take his brother's ring finger and make an elongated finger, and they had a photo diary, which was creepy enough, but what really scared the shit out of me was this description that said you have to be an identical twin to understand why you'd want to do this, and I was like, fuck. And my mom always taught me that if something scares you, it's a lack of education, so learn more about it, you won't be afraid anymore. So I went on the site and pretended I had like an infected sun-sized penis, and I'd ask for questions, and they were always very sweet and very nice, and my fear turned to fascination, turned to admiration. Like, this is the most commonly villainized group of people and so misunderstood, and I thought, hey, if I can start as a stupid, misinformed douchebag, maybe if I bring my love of this out there, maybe I can change other people's opinions. The end.
Now I really want someone to ask what a sun-sized penis is.
They know.
It's Montreal child, I'm
Google
sorry.
it. I made that mistake. You can never unsee it.
Hello, my dear.
Hi. Well, I'd like to start by saying I'm really grateful for all the work you do, and it's really great to have such amazing women to look up to in this genre. And my question is for thank you. My question is for Katharine. How awesome was it being a kid on Goosebumps? Because that was kind of a personal dream of mine because I'm really jealous.
Okay, so like the killer sponge who lives under the sink. It was super fun. Amanda Tapping played my mom. She's, I don't know if you guys know Stargate, she's like amazing. And, oh God, what was the other one? Sanctuary. Yeah, it was great. I mean, I was a kid and everyone treats you super nice when you're on set and they give you candy to keep you awake and happy. And I had a dog and I was like, this is the best ever. Yeah, no, I had lots of fun. And I used to read, not so much R.L. Stein, but, oh God, who was the other one?
Christopher Pike.
Yes, who said that?
Me of all people.
Christopher Pike?
Yes.
Yes! That was my boy. So yeah, I was really excited. I mean, that's literally as far into like the horror genre of anything that I got, like Goosebumps. I was like, okay, I'm pretty scared now. Like to this day. Yeah, it's good fun.
Thank you.
Hey, how are you?
Hi. Well,
Well, it's well, I have two questions, one for the Soskas and one for Katharine. First of all, it's about See No Evil 2. I was wondering how you were approached with the project and what was the process in that. And connected to that a little bit, how did Katharine get in? Was it just a quick phone call, say, hey, do you want to be in this, or was it an auditioning process?
I actually nudged her away. Yeah. Oh, we were both rushed to the Katharine punchline.
After we made American Mary, every single meeting we took was for a meeting about her as a medical something doing the exact same shit but watered down. And I was like, I just made that. And we read so many scripts, and then our agent was like, oh, I have a script you have to read right away. And I was like, that's never real. There's never an emergency movie like thing. And so I didn't read it. And then I get a call like that evening. They're like, did you read the script? I'm like, oh, you were serious when you said, please read it right now. And Jen and I read it, and we started watching wrestling when Kane was introduced. So we're like, what is this? It sounds like it's a sequel to that Kane movie. And we're like, oh my God. Oh no. Oh my God. And we both pushed away from our desks at the same time because we have our lappies next to each other. Oh my God, we should do this. And we're like, they're actually probably never going to hire us though, because we get on a lot of list of quotas. They're like, oh, we don't have any chicks on those. No, we talked to the Soskas. We just didn't want what they were selling.
At some point in our careers, we stopped giving a shit when we talked to people in studio meetings when we really should, you know, try and be like nice and friendly, but we talked about the thing, we said we do exactly like this, like that, and we gave the WWE we acted like we were talking to Vince McMahon. We were like, just, I want you to know, big WWF fan, you know, back when it was an F, not an E, and I love The Undertaker because The Undertaker is perfect, and I love Kane. Why was there laughter? The Undertaker is perfect. And we said, no matter what happens with the project, I'm so excited to see the movies. Selfishly, we want to make it so we're the first ones to see it, and good luck. And the next morning we were hired, which was insane because the WWE is very not, they don't jump the gun hiring anyone. They go to put you through a rigorous trial period, and they had seen American Mary, and they loved it.
And her character was actually an old man before.
What?
What? Yeah. There was no you in the script originally, and whenever I read anything, I'm like, what's Katie
Did this old man do the same horrific things that I do in this movie?
Yeah, see,
we wrote that special for you.
We gotta kind of push the envelope a little bit with that.
That's fantastic.
Well, has anyone seen the scene that she might be talking about? The one with her and you see the court one where she gets on top of
If not, you really are a good friend though, Kate.
I fucking am. That is the truth. I will never live this down. And I was like, oh, I can't see Jen and Sil. They're my best friends. And they won't talk to me ever again. I figured out a way, when the script was originally given to me and the character that I had was a little less tasteful than I would have, hoped for, shockingly enough. And it took me a little while before I could figure out sort of in my head how to do this. Basically by being like, my character being drunk and fucking hilarious the whole time. Instead of like taking any of it like sexy serious, she was just gonna be a total waste case and a complete moron. And yeah, I think that was the only way I could really get through it.
You're really funny. Most people don't know that about you because you're so scary to talk to.
Can we just have this conversation?
Yeah. Keep it that way.
Shit.
If I could just say, I think they made a good choice in directors for See No Evil 2. And
Thank you.
It's my pleasure. And if I could ask Katharine one question, I loved your work in Hannibal. I thought it was amazing. How was it to work with Mads Mikkelsen?
Just insane. When I got the job, they flew me out like 2 days before to do wardrobe, and they handed me the first season in the book, and they were like, here, do your homework. And I was like, oh, okay. So I had to binge watch the entire first season, had a bit of a psychological episode where I hallucinated an eviscerated body in the reflection of my window in the lobby and wondered why the fire alarm was going off because the cops would like not want you to come out unless it was the killer that would turn on the fire alarm so we'd all go downstairs so we could murder us all. And then right after that, I walked into Hannibal Lecter's office and sat across from him and completely lost my mind. I fangirled the shit out of Mads Mikkelsen. And I said, okay, calm down, like don't be weird. Just be professional, you're just an actor, and he's an actor. The second I was alone with him, I was like, I just have to tell you, like, Sven is my favorite character ever. From The Green Butchers, I don't know if anyone's ever seen it, it's a Danish film, it's like amazing, chicky wickies, no big deal. And he was like, yeah, thanks, and I was like, okay. And in my head, I'm like, shut up, can you shut up now? And I just went on and on and on. And then a little while ago, about a month ago, we did a con in New Jersey with him, and we had a couple beers after, and now we're best friends. And I'm really excited to say that.
That's so cute.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
So for American Mary, you did a lot of research on body modification, and like, aside from the thing you mentioned with the twin brothers and the April Fool's joke, what's the actual weirdest, most disturbing, normal, real thing that you managed to find during your research? In my case, it would be the guy who cut his penis down lengthwise and made 2 penises out of it.
Oh yeah, that's the furthest thing in the sub and size category. I would probably say a video that was called the BME Pain Olympics. Is that what it was?
Oh,
here's the girl. There is that one that's watched it. It's again, I apologize if you brought your child here, but my parents let me hear cussing and I turned out wrong, so there you go. But there seems to be a whole genital subcategory in body modification, and it's just a series of horrible things being done to penises and balls. And there's one where in the pee hole, the urethra, is that Dr. Isabelle?
The urethra.
The urethra. There's a firecracker that's put in it. This is just one, and I think this is the tamest one, and it's kind of funny because you see the little thing going down. It's like, oh no, what's going to happen? What happens is exactly what you think.
I don't want to think that.
And there was another one where the ball things were ripped open, but a bee landed in it, and I was like, for whatever reason, because I don't have balls, that didn't affect me, but I was like, oh, there's a bee on it.
So I don't want it to get stung. I mean, it's had enough.
Well, it seemed really wet in there, too.
It would be.
Yeah, that would probably be it as far as...
I haven't drank nearly enough today for this conversation.
As in large, I really love body modification. I think it's really beautiful. I don't know why body modification in some parts of the world, and a lot in America, they look at it and think, oh, that's disgusting, you're insane if you do that. And then you look at plastic surgery and it's like, oh no, that's completely fine. But I see that plastic surgery is trying to fit into the generic version, the lemming version of what is considered beautiful, and body modification is the pursuit of self-expression and your own pursuit of what you feel is beautiful. So for that reason, I love body modification. But the penis stuff, I'm just not sure. I mean, I bless them for doing it to themselves if it makes them happy, but you know, there's only so much you can do as you whittle it down.
Eyes tattooed blue.
I actually like those. I think it's beautiful.
He's going for the Fremen Dune blue on blue thing. 42 injections worth of ink and antibiotics. The whites of his eyes.
There's
Art.
There's this artist named Ronnie who brought it to Poland, and she did black on her eyes, and I just thought it was so fantastic. Awesome. But I'm so indecisive, I can't decide on anything to do with it. The only thing I find really weird, and it's not really body modification, it's plastic surgery. When I go to LA, and I can't recognize anyone because they all look like the same girl. I'm like, and then with like well, it used to be black, but now it's red. I'm like, I don't fit in. I don't want to become one of these. It feels like a simulation. That's it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hello. Also, hi.
Dead hooker in a trunk. What's your favorite moment each of you?
Katie starts.
When Jen gets her eye gouged out. Yeah, that was my favorite. Or gouged or knocked, or I don't know how it came out, but it came out.
Baseball bat.
That
On the
thing,
back of the
thank
head.
you.
That made the eye come
Yeah.
out somehow.
Something happened, Jen's eye fell out.
It worked.
That was the part.
I like when they go to pick up drugs and they're waiting downstairs and they hear a chainsaw upstairs, and then the whole sequence that goes through that, we're looking through the organs, we have like that punk band playing, the Titan Go Kings, and it's like, Rah! And it's like so batshit crazy. That's usually when either we got you or we don't. You're out. You're like, no.
My other favorite part is when the Ricky's arm gets smashed off by a truck, and then they like kind of wrap it up with a t-shirt, and then she's smoking with it like in the next scene. I'm like, yes, that's shit.
I really like when we do the hooker death scene, because all of the violence in the film is super comedic and larger than life. But when we killed the hooker, we made it really realistic, upsetting violence, because life doesn't matter except these 4 people are trying to take care of this body and put her to rest and take care of her, and they're valuing the life of this hooker, which is the opposite. I mean, I didn't create the phrase dead hooker in a trunk. I just perfected it. So I really love seeing that scene and having everyone like, oh, I'm having a good time, and then be like, oh my God, there's 2 songs? This death is so long, you switch into another song? Oh my God.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. So seeing as you're doing See No Evil, which is great, it's awesome, I can't wait to see it in a month. Although, you know, everybody knows what happens with sequels or horror films, but like, I'm assuming, obviously, it's gonna be great, but like, after doing this sequel to a franchise, do you see yourselves like revamping other franchises in a way? And if you do, if you don't, what would they be?
There's a couple sequels I wanted to do. I wanted to be sequel Viagra. I wanted to find something that wasn't taken care of. Like, there were opportunities missed in the first, one. I was like, oh, but what if we did it like this? But I kind of like doing the first one. I I did really love getting to do my first slasher movie with See No Evil with these two lovely ladies, but I want to do every horror subgenre there is. So I still want to do home invasion. I still want to. So it doesn't matter if it's 1, 2, or 5, or 16.
Hilariously enough, contractually they can't make a sequel to one of our films without us. I would make See No Evil 3 through 100. I think Jacob Goodnight should go to Burning Man and just let that shit go. He just takes the mask there and like single tear. Smokes weed for the first time. He's like, whoa, I've been so messed up.
How would you react if someone actually managed to do American Mary 2 without you? Like how would that be? How would you feel about that?
It would be like making Buffy without Joss Whedon. I'm glad there is appropriate gasps. It's like, no, but absolutely, I think it would be an abomination to do that without the creator. Just like when they take a comic book franchise, like Painkiller Jane classically, and Jimmy Palmiotti and Joe Quesada. I mean, if you want to know anything about Jane, you talk to them. But they didn't really involve the creators in the TV show or the movie. And, well, 3 times lucky, the Painkiller Jane we're making is exactly off the pages. I hate it when they take something that's already successful, people already love, and say, yeah, let's change it. Why would you change it? It's working so well, you're making a fucking movie off it. Why change it now?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Mary.
Hey. I just wanted to ask, what do you think was the best scene in American Mary? It's similar to that.
Are we looking at me? The milkshake scene with Lance in the strip club is my favorite because it's actually really sweet. And there's like one person that cares about her, and she genuinely like kind of smiles, almost sort of. And that like I actually get all squishy when that happens. Squish, squish. It's so cute.
I know what favorite scene yours is. I won't pick it. Because I was going to pick it just to be like, haha, Syl, what are you going to pick now?
I like the fantasy sequence that Billy has in the bar. And I remember my AD went over to me and he's like, you have to call cut. And I said, I waited 2.5 years for this. I'm going to call cut when I fucking want to. I got like 20 minutes of footage. It's fine.
I found some vodka. We shot that in a real bar. I found some vodka underneath the counter.
I retrieved vodka for you, my love. You asked me, what do I was like, sweetie, what do you need to do
You
this?
stole vodka from
and
the
you
location
said vodka,
for me.
a lot of it.
And by steal, legally obtained.
No, I took out like one of the milkshake containers and I started pouring vodka and they're like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm getting this for, don't ask. Don't ask because you're an accomplice then. My favorite scene in American Mary is when right after she gets Billy and Lance to pick up Dr. Grant, and she comes in and turns the music on, and you don't know what's happening. You've only heard like something off camera, and when Billy says, I could come back later, and she's like, I won't be done until tomorrow night, and you hear a voice go, oh, and then she comes over and she gives something off camera, this fuck you look, and she slowly walks over and she gets down and you're like, oh my god, that's Dr. Grant. And that entire scene with him. Oh, also the storage locker scene, because that's that scene on Viagra. You've gotten bored of torturing him, so you've gone to a completely other fucking level with it.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Hi!
Well, this is a big spoiler for Mary, but I love the scene when she's suturing her own wound at the end. And I was...
Don't listen, Joker.
I was wondering if you had always intended for her to be using her surgical skills sort of to her last breath, or did the ending change at all when you were writing the script?
The ending was there before the rest of the film. She does 3 suturing, one at the very beginning with the turkey. The second is when she's suturing up Ruby, and at the very end. She does so many horrible decisions, and everything's so selfishly driven, but she didn't really have great decisions. But then again, she wasn't like exactly like, oh, I'm gonna go save the world. She's like, I get money? Cool, I'm fucked, that's fine. And she didn't really get to live a life she liked, but at the very end, she gets to go out the way she wants. Like, people are like, oh, it comes out of nowhere. I'm like, well, every time something fucking horrible happened to me, no one called and been like, by the way, 2 weeks from now, be prepared to stay at the hospital all night because somene's about to die. Like, you never know that kind of thing. So it just kind of pops out of there, and she won't even give him it. She rips out his throat like the little bitch that he is. She curls up like the little bitch that he is. She crawls into the other room. She sutures herself out, and she's like, fuck it. She could have picked up her phone and called for help, and she's like, no, I'm out. I'm done. That's about it.
Thank you. I love the film.
Oh, thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
I have two questions actually. I was wondering what your opinion is on the recent spur of horror movie remakes the past few years, and how would you feel if someone were to do that to one of your movies about 20 years from now or so?
When it's a foreign film, and for example, just picking a film out of nowhere, Old Boy, and they remake it for literally no reason, or when they wreck, and then they make Quarantine, which is like shot for shot the same movie, but it's a soulless piece of shit.
And they give away the biggest scare on the poster in the trailer.
I know, the only good thing about that movie was Doug Jones playing the old hag at the end, because Doug Jones is a fucking master. But I think that I grew up in a decade where there's a lot of original horror movies, or maybe I was just watching original horror movies. In the 80s, I mean, I had Critters and Gremlins and Hellraiser and Alien and Predator and all these fucking great movies. And Hollywood used to make all these great movies, and then for whatever reason, because if you make American Werewolf in London too, the studios can look at, okay, American Werewolf in London made this opening weekend. If you add this actor, and that's going to bring in this much of an audience, and the movie can be a steaming pile of shit, as long as you have your opening weekend and it's made that much money before everyone's like, oh no, this movie's a piece of shit, it's a successful movie. That's why I say if a movie smells like a turd, don't go see it. Don't look at the turd, because then you become part of the problem.
I think it's all to do with passion. Like, if you do a movie because you just want to make money, and people who pay me money to make movies are probably going to hate that I say it, that's the wrong reason to make a movie. You should make a movie because you're passionate about it. So in 20 years, if a bunch of little nerds are like, I'm going to remake Dead Hooker in a Trunk because I love that movie, that was why I got into film, I'd be like, go do it. Except Mary, I will kill anybody who tries to make Mary without me. I do not fucking care. But Dead Hooker, go ahead, go do it. But
it's kind of like the remake of The Hills Have Eyes. That director, what's his name?
Alexander Aja?
Was it? No, it wasn't Alexander Aja, was it?
Say correct.
Awesome. Well, he was a fan of the first one, and you could see that in his version of it, because you could tell his love of it dripping from every mutant rapey frame. Spoiler alert.
Katie, I'll ask you some questions. You talked about Hannibal season 3. So we know you're coming back, obviously. Brian Fuller.
Apparently, Brian Fuller did an interview, so Brian Fuller says that it is so.
That's happening.
And I'm sticking to it!
Will you tell folks as well about 88 a little bit?
Oh yeah. But I don't know when it's coming out. But I got a movie called 88 coming out, which is super fucking wicked cool. I just don't know when, so just look for it and stuff.
Who else is in it with you?
Christopher Lloyd. I am sorry, he's just the greatest thing that ever happened. And he's a bad guy. He's like doing coke and banging hookers and killing people. And who doesn't want to see Christopher Lloyd do that? Sold.
Another question?
Hey.
Well, hello, ladies. It is I, the Richard. I'm so coming to hug the fuck out of you. I made myself pretty for you.
You look so beautiful. I was fucking you over there. It's like that has to be the Richard.
I kind of came. Hello, Isabelle. It is great meeting you.
I love the Richard.
So here's my question. Do you love the Richard?
Yes! I fucking adore the Richard.
And what's your take on fetish?
Uh-oh.
Katie.
Don't you answer this first.
If there's any children,
people.
if there's any children in the audience, please cover your ears.
They must have already left, or the cool parents are keeping them in. Well, I don't see any children crying. Just carry on. It's fucking. What's the point of fucking without fetishes?
I know, right?
It's like cooking with no spice, right? I love fetishes, and I think that everyone is into them, but some people are just too afraid to admit what they're into. I mean, no children. I've had a few conversations with a couple mates trying to talk guys into letting me peg them. Google that if you don't know what it is. And you know, I get so much resistance until I actually succeed in convincing them to let me do it. But you know, there's negative connotations.
All resist.
Oh, they always fucking love it.
Wow.
That was filmed, right? Good.
Yeah, right here.
Why several people in the audience?
I can never unhear that.
When,
You knew that.
when we
Well,
were
I know, but not in a room full of people.
When we were traveling a couple weeks ago, you guys made an interesting observation about being outsiders when you were growing up, and how that has formed the product that you bring forward. Will you tell people a little bit about that?
Essentially, I think it's something that everybody here has in common, because I remember comic books, video games, wrestling, and horror movies weren't always cool when you were a kid. I remember a lot of douchebags being really mean to people, like little nerds like me, and it didn't help that I could fit easily into a locker room. And, oh, don't feel bad, it worked out super rad for me. Like, look, I'm alright, you guys are hanging out, I'm not so lonely. But I think that kind of drives you to find your group, find people that you can relate to. And I think outsiders and people who feel like they don't fit in is actually the biggest group out there. And I love conventions like this because you go there and everybody's got their little nerd thing and none of us are afraid to show it. I mean, you go out there and you're like, oh my God, I love this and I love this. I was talking about weapons that are good against different ogres and I was like, I can talk like this. It's acceptable. And it's just a really cool kind of thing. And I think the nice thing is that you look on television, you look at film, you look at society, all the nerds have finally taken over it. And all those people that used to make, I don't know where they are, maybe they're pumping gas or something, but it's cool. The nerds have inherited the earth and it's a cool feeling.
Absolutely. Everyone else peaked at high school and just got pregnant.
It's true. It's true. It's true. It's so true.
Are there other questions at all? Yeah.
Hi.
Bonjour.
Do you feel that as women, the way you approach certain topic is different, or are you interested in different topics? And Katharine, in your case, working with Jen and Sylvia, do you feel it's different because they're women filmmakers versus working with men?
Yeah, I mean, I've considering the things that I was doing on both of the films that I've worked with them on, definitely the comfort level coming from the twins as opposed to some male dude. I mean, maybe it's just because I want them to be my best friends forever, so I'll do whatever they say. It doesn't matter how inappropriate it may be. Yeah, I mean, I think that definitely it creates a feeling for me on set at the moment. I definitely feel less like a complete prostitute when working for strong, independent women who have a reason and a point for the things that they do, as opposed to just gratuitous, sort of exploitation of female bodies.
The moment I make a flop, I think I'm going to be out of it. And it's true. Later in life, she made a flop and she ended up doing a Pepsi commercial and that was it. She just went on teaching. No one would hire her for anything. So I'm so terrified and excited, but terrified every time I make a movie, because a lot of the time when I read criticisms about Jennifer and my work, it isn't that they don't like the film or there's something structurally wrong with it or story-wise. It's women can't do it, and it's this extra responsibility that I feel like if I'm going to do this, I want to make the best product possible. That's why Jennifer and I always show up when the crew shows up on set. That's why we're obsessive with everything. That's why I'm a horrible person to associate with when I'm making a movie, because that is all I can talk about. I didn't even call her Katharine for like 2.5 years. I was married. Because I didn't really, I love you. I didn't really want to care about who.
She didn't give a shit.
I didn't want to give a shit about anybody who wasn't married because it was so important for the movie to reach this certain level, and that's how I feel it kind of has to be done. And even when I read critics, like I read horrible things, like people saying Jen and I are the worst kinds of feminists, and you know what? That is totally awesome. Use your rage against the movies we make and make something way better than us, and to be like, fuck you guys, and be like, I would be the first one to buy that ticket and be like, yeah, fuck me, and that's a great movie.
It's not always the first thing we think about when we go into a film, that what's our feminist agenda this time. But a lot of the people that we work under in studio and producing positions, they're mostly men, and a lot of them are, older men that have been doing this for a while. So when we take a script, there will be things that are just blatantly sexist. I mean, there is one character in See No Evil 2 that was a blonde, and at one point, she just stopped talking. And nobody else picked this up, and I was like, do you realize this character is in this scene, this scene, this scene, this scene, this scene, and she just keeps going. It's like, and at this certain point, just nothing's written for her. Like, she has no character, and they're like, yeah, but she's gonna be covered in blood, and she's gonna have great tits and these legs, and it's like, I'm not fucking talking about what she's gonna look like. Who is this girl? And every time I have,
Why is she there?
why is she there? And I couldn't even prove it until we did the read-through, and then that girl just sat there, and it's like, it's kind of weird that she's doing nothing, right? And then there's the obvious other things that, sometimes they're like, oh, so this is the part where she, gets down on her knees and she starts blowing her boyfriend. I'm like, no. No. I don't want to spoil what happens in the script instead, but at one certain point, that was actually what was supposed to be in the script, and I was like, no, this is going to happen instead. And the thing that we had happen instead, the guys were very uncomfortable even discussing. They're like, oh, okay, I guess that works. It's like, oh, it's going to get the biggest reaction ever, because you never have that in a film, but you always have the little dick-sucking bullshit out of nowhere. Like, oh, there's a girl. She's super horny. You know what she wants? To suck a dick for no reason.
Thank you.
It's just getting worse.
No, I think the peg is just, now it's just coming down again. Or when slashers first began, and we're such horror nerds and wrestling nerds, we put a lot of in-jokes on it throughout it. We took a lot of the classic tropes and we kind of turned them on their head. So there's a lot of unexpected, awesome, fun violence. There's 3 people you can root for. And depending on who you pick out of those people, you might end up super happy, or you might have to, change teams on the second time you watch it.
It's such a love of horror thing too. I know we're totally out of time, but it's just one of the, it's not like a sad, like, oh, I'm gonna hate myself after I finish watching American Mary, and then I'm gonna cry, and then I'm gonna watch it again. It's a very fun and very upsetting film. Once you figure out which person out of everybody you're supposed to root for, it's a good time.
I hate to say this, but we'll have time for one last question there. She's been waiting patiently, and then we'll wrap up.
Hey guys, so I have a quick question. You have done the slasher, you've done action with Vendetta, you've done your love letter to the Grindhouse. Would you consider doing a comedy, and if so, what would that sort of look like?
Oh my God, I love comedy so much, but there's always the fight of, you can't have horror with comedy, so it's always a battle for me. I would love to do the raunchiest comedy with chicks in it, and you know what, maybe that might be Jane.
There's actually a really raunchy Christmas movie called Last Noel that I am going to fucking do, and it is going to be so batshit crazy. And people will be like, Soska, why are you doing a Christmas movie? And we'll be like, because of this script. Check it out. It is awesome. And I've never said that before. Someone's going to be like, no, you're street cred. Please shut up about Christmas.
Thank you very much. Thank you for all your questions. And
Thank you,
ladies, we'll see you
everybody.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming.